Hey, Jeff Snyder here, your Sandler sales trainer and coach. I was working with a few friends and colleagues over the last little bit. Some stuff about getting a raise or a promotion. And a few of them said I should pass on some of the stuff and the tools and techniques that we worked on. So I figured I would do that because there's a lot of people out there that would like to get a raise or don't know how to ask for one. Or it's nerve-wracking thinking about doing the thing at all, which doesn't surprise me. I looked on Google. That's where you look, right, when you want to look up how to do something. And the top search results surprised me a little bit. The advice that was given on Google. I wrote down the top 5 things I saw, the most common things. Stuff like, think like your boss. Most common. Build your case. Research your company, rehearse your pitch, and timing is everything. And my problem with those things are that it seems extremely stressful to do a lot of those things. In fact, it sounds like we're going into court. You got to get a pitch and you got to research things. And so there's a lot of stress in doing all that stuff. And what I'm not doing is communicating it all. I'm kind of prepping. And what it gives is the ability to procrastinate. Say, well, let me do some research. Let me wait for the right timing. I mean, talk about a reason not to do something. It's because timing isn't right. And then think like your boss. I'm not sure how you would be able to think like your boss no matter how well you know them. I don't want to think for someone. I rather just know what they're thinking. So I wanted to go over some of the techniques on how to get a raise, how to ask for a raise. So first thing, if you ask for a raise, you're going to get a yes or no answer. So I would not suggest in any way asking for a raise and letting your boss say yes or no. It's a short conversation, it's uncomfortable, and you have to do all those things, right? You have to build a case, you have to present it, you sweat, and you're nervous, and you fumble over all your words, and the first thing you do when you sit down, your boss knows you're about to ask for a raise, so he or she prepares for it. It's uncomfortable. So here's my suggestions. First thing you want to do is schedule some time with your boss where you want to meet with them. And when you walk into the room with them, you want to say a nice little upfront agreement. Like, for this exercise, I'll use the word boss since I don't have the name of a boss or your boss. They say something like, boss, I want to sit with you for 15 minutes, talk about my place in the company, some things I'm looking to do, ask you a few questions, see what guidance or questions you have from me, and then walk out of here knowing what the next steps are. Would that be okay? I'm sure they're going to say okay. Then you ask this question. You say, boss, what would I have to do to make $60,000? Let's just say that's the number you want to make. What would I have to do to make $60,000? Now what that requires is your boss to give you an answer about what you would actually have to do to make that number within the company. And there's a few responses. Typical responses. Here, I would say 90% of the time I hear people come back with, they've heard one of 3 things. First one is, and I've heard this more than once, Jeff, I didn't know you didn't make $60,000 here. So you might not know that your boss actually doesn't know your salary. They might have thought you already got the promotion or the raise. And so right there you uncovered just a mistake. And even if it wasn't a mistake, even if your boss knew what they were waiting for you to ask, now it's out in the open. Okay, that's one response. Second response is, Jeff, you can't make $60,000 here. And that is better to know than not to know. At least you know where you stand. At least you know that if you want to make $60,000, you're not going to be able to do it at the place you're at now. Because your boss up front told you. So instead of saying, boss, I'd like a raise to $60,000, and they say no, which leaves some mystification in there. Well, maybe later they could say yes. You now know that their view of you is that you cannot make that number here. So now you at least know what you're putting up with, right? Half the battle of problem resolution is problem recognition. So if you recognize the problem is you can never make it, now you can think of a way that you could make it which would involve going somewhere else. The last scenario is that they sit there and think and tell you things that you need to do to be able to get that raise. They'll give you a little list. So many times I think they appreciate the question. They think it's unique. Not a lot of people come in and do this. So they give you a list of things that they want to see you do. Now there's a couple of things to do from here. Number one, if when they give you the list of things you need to do, you already, let's go with the scenario that you already do those things. You don't say, aha, gotcha, already do those things. I want the raise right now. That's not going to work. Instead, take down all the things they said that they want you to do. And then say, okay, boss, let me just review this with you. I have bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3, bullet 4, bullet 5. All the things you want me to do. If I have this right, when I achieve those things, I could get a raise to $60,000. Is that correct? See what they say. Hopefully they say, and most common, they say, yes, when you get to all those things, we can talk about having, raising your salary to $60,000. Okay, so my next step here, boss, is I'd like to go back, see what I'm doing right now, bring you my current status, so whether it's proof of how many calls I'm making or how much productivity I'm doing, whatever it is. I want to go and do all this research and come back to you and sit down and say, boss, here's where I'm currently at. Here's where you want me to be. Here's the gap. I want you to know what I'm dealing with, what I have to do to make up that gap. And when I show that to you, if there wasn't a gap, let's just say that I'm currently doing what you want me to do, and I'm already there, would you agree that I would be able to get this raise immediately? See what they say. If there is a gap there, if there is something you need to do to get to that 60,000, you do the same thing. You do your research, you come, you say, I just want to be able to sit down with you and review. Say, here's what I'm currently doing, here's what you want me to do. When I get to this state, when I get to the things that you told me you wanted me to do, am I right to assume I'll get the raise pretty much immediately when I get to that point? Is there a period of time I need to achieve that? I want to have my expectations set clear. And so what you're doing, instead of walking into a meeting getting a yes or no, you're getting a when. That when may be 3 years away, or that when might be 3 minutes away, might be 3 weeks away. What it isn't is a no. And it isn't an extremely stressful period of time where you need to do research. You're going to do research after you've had the conversation with your boss about the things they told you to go do. And that gives you the ability to have some comfort in finding out how to get a raise instead of you're going to get a raise. So I hope that's helpful. Feel free to shoot me any questions you have in the comments or whatever, and I'm happy to expand on this, and hopefully it was extremely helpful. Once again, Jeff Snader with Sandler. Have a great day.